What's up guys, welcome back to For the Love of Games. Today we are going to be playing Forbidden Island by Gamewright.
Forbidden Island is an incredibly fun game for 2 to 4 players age 10 and up. When you open the grape tin that it comes in, you'll find a rule book, a Water's Rise card with marker, 4 treasure figurines, which are incredibly detailed and fun to look at, 6 player pawns, the island cards, as well as 3 decks of cards, which include the treasure cards, the flood cards, and the player cards. The object of Forbidden Island is to work together as a team to keep the island from sinking so that you can capture each of the treasure figurines, take them to Fool's Landing, and make an escape before the island sinks. Let's delve a little bit deeper into each of the card decks. The orange deck is the treasure deck. The treasure deck contains cards for each of the treasures. It contains Water's Rise cards, as well as a helicopter lift and a sandbag set of cards. These cards will be shuffled and drawn randomly. Each player would like to try to collect 4 of the same treasure in order to collect that treasure when it is their chance to do so. The second deck is the blue deck. The blue deck is the flood deck, and when these cards are drawn, they tell you which tile on the island will be flooded. Finally, there's a deck of 6 cards, 1 for each player pawn, that shows that player's characteristics and capabilities. For example, a diver has the capability of swimming across an empty lot in order to get to dry land. A pilot can fly from tile to tile. A navigator can move other players. An engineer can shore up 2 tiles instead of 1. And a messenger can give cards without having to be on the same tile as the other player. The first thing we're going to do is set up our island. The island consists of 24 island tiles that have full color on one side and faded blue and white color on the other. The faded color represents a partially sunk portion of the island. The island will be set up randomly in the display arrangement that is specified in the rule book. It's important to put a little bit of space between each of the island tiles so that you have room to sink them or rescue them without disturbing the pattern. Once the island tiles are set up, you next place the treasures around the island. You place your flood counter to the side and choose where to start your marker. A marker on a lower level would be for beginners. A marker on a higher level would be for more advanced players. This is the classic counter that you'll find in many collaborative games. Finally, you'll put out your card decks. The treasure cards and the flood cards will be both placed to the side of the playing field. Now that the island is set up, the first step is to start to sink the tiles. You draw the first 6 cards. And then one at a time, flip the associated tile to its backside where it shows a partially sunk tile. These cards will then go into the discard pile. You will notice that on some of the tiles, you see the icons of the treasures. You can only collect the treasures if your player is on that tile. In addition, some tiles have the starting point for the players themselves. At this point, you will now bring out the players. You will take the 6 player cards and shuffle them and distribute them randomly, or if you like, you can allow your teammates to help by picking which character they want to play. For this game, we will choose the 4 at the top. On the back of these cards, you will see the order of play. Each player on his turn or her turn can take up to 3 actions, and then we'll draw 2 treasure cards and flood cards equal to the water level on the flood meter. The actions that are available are to move, shore up, give a treasure card, or capture a treasure. To start the game, each player gets 2 treasure cards and will have them placed face up in front of them. Next, we will place the players on their starting blocks. So for the pilot, you look for the pilot's landing or fool's landing where you see a blue pawn. The engineer in red starts at the bronze gate. The diver in black starts at the iron gate. And the messenger in gray starts at the silver gate. If you were playing with the other 2, the explorer would start at the copper gate. The navigator would start at the gold gate. So now you're ready to start the game. In each move, the player must take up to 3 actions, draw 2 treasure deck cards, and draw flood cards. So if the red player is going to go first, the red player, the engineer, currently has 1 lion and 1 flame. So this makes sense to try to go collect more treasure. So he's going to take 2 moves, and the moves can only be made horizontally, either 1 tile to the right, 1 tile to the left if there were a tile there, 1 tile up, or 1 tile down. So the bronze gate engineer will move 1, 2, 3 to another tile that has the lion icon on it. It is okay to land on tiles that are half sunk. However, as you will see, if a tile gets sunk completely, it is taken out of play. After taking 3 actions, 2 treasure deck cards are drawn. At any given time, a player can only have 5 cards in his or her hand. If the number of cards gets to 6 or higher, they must randomly choose at least 1 card to discard to get them back to a hand of 5 cards total. The player ends their turn by drawing the number of flood cards equivalent to the marker on the flood meter. The flood cards tell you which squares will be flooded. In this case, Coral Palace and Howling Garden. Next up will be the pilot. The pilot will move 1 and then draw 2 treasure deck cards. Unfortunately, the first one is a Water's Rise card. The Water's Rise means that the water level moves up 1 mark. The second card goes into the pilot's deck of cards. Finally, because we're still on level 2, the pilot will draw 2 flood cards. Next up is the messenger. Because the players can take up to 3 actions, and those actions include moves, shoring up, sharing cards, or capturing treasure, I'm going to move the messenger 2 and have them shore up one of these 2 tiles that are partially flooded. Shoring up simply means the tile gets turned over and it counts as the third action for that player. Then the messenger will get 2 cards and 2 flood cards will be drawn. The messenger has an interesting set of cards in their stash right now. The messenger has 2 potential treasure cards, but also has a helicopter lift and a sandbag card. A sandbag card can be played at any time and would be used to shore up any one tile on the island. This shoring up move cannot be made after a sinking card has been drawn, so it must be played preemptively before the card is drawn from the deck. The other card is the helicopter lift. The helicopter lift allows you to move 1 or more pawns on the same tile to any other tile or lift your team off of Fool's Landing for the win. This can also be played at any time. Because this can be played at any time, the messenger before leaving his turn will play a sandbag and shore up another one of these tiles that has a potential treasure on it. The diver is up next. The diver will move 2 and shore up for his third move. Then take 2 treasure cards. And note that the diver also has the helicopter lift and the sandbags, which is nice. We are still at level 2, so we have 2 tiles that we need to sink. Lost Lagoon and Phantom Rock. It should be noted that whenever the Water's Rise marker moves up, the sinking cards that are discarded, or the island cards, are then shuffled and placed on top of the island deck. This helps to increase the risk and the excitement of the game. Now that we have a significant pile, the next time a Water's Rise card is drawn, we will shuffle this and put it on top. Okay, so as you can see, I've played a few rounds. There are many tiles that are partially sunk, some that have been completely sunk and removed from the game. And so far, nobody has yet to collect a treasure. But the engineer is ready to do it because they have 4 lions. So they'll be trying to move to a square with a lion so that they can collect the treasure as one of their moves on that turn. The pilot has 3 chalices and is hoping the messenger, whose turn it is next, will give them the chalice so they can then move to a square with a chalice on it to collect that piece. The other 2 treasures have a little bit more work to do. So now it's the messenger's turn. So as one of the moves, the messenger will share the chalice The pilot now has too many, so we'll discard one of the orbs. The reason the messenger is able to give that treasure card is that they can do it to any player anywhere on the island for 1 action per card, as opposed to the other players who have to be on the same square as an individual in order to give them the card. Next up, the messenger will move for their second move and shore up one of the tiles for their third. The messenger now has 6 cards and 2 helicopter lifts, so we'll abandon this helicopter lift. As you can see, we are not doing very well at all. And in fact, we may be at a place where we might be close to losing the game because the engineer needs to get to this tile but isn't able to swim. We know that our helicopter pilot has a special ability. On once per turn, the pilot can fly to any tile on the island for 1 action, but no other characters can fly. The diver can swim by moving through 1 or more adjacent flooded or missing tiles and end on solid land. But that would mean that we would have to get these 4 lions over to another player. So the engineer would have to move to the spot where the pilot is to start to share cards with them. Okay, now after only a brief period of play, you can see that the Fool's Landing has been sunk, so there's no way for the players to get off of the island and the game is lost. So as you can see, this is never the same game twice. 2 out of the last 3 games I showed you, the Fool's Landing was sunk by rising waters, which means that the game automatically ends. When you're starting out in the game, you want to carefully observe what your objectives are. Check to see where all of the tiles are where you can collect your prizes. This tile might be at risk because there are others around it that could be sunk, and then you would not be able to get there unless you were the diver. In addition, you want to look at Fool's Landing and be very careful about shoring up Fool's Landing at all costs. Pay special attention to the abilities of your characters, and don't forget to use your shore up cards as well as your helicopter lift cards so that you can be prepared to get everybody off of this tile at the end, and you can strategically shore up the island to prevent yourself from becoming trapped or from losing an essential tile. Part of what makes this game so fun is that it's different every single time. It's difficult and can be made more difficult by where you place your Water's Rise tab. So have fun, enjoy playing the game, and let us know what you think.
Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell to be notified whenever our new videos come out.